Welcome. In today's episode we're going to finish drawing the strawberry mug. So grab the picture that you started last time, and if you didn't do it then you're welcome to go back and watch the previous video and then rejoin us. And you'll need a mug. You can either draw the same one that I was drawing last time, or you can grab a different mug, something simpler or something even more fancy than this one, so that's up to you. And you'll also need a grey lead pencil, a sharpener, a razor, and definitely a fine liner for today. So I'll look forward to seeing you in a moment after the intro. Before I begin adding fine liner to my drawing, I'm just going to adjust part of the base, because I noticed when I was looking at the photo I'd taken of my work earlier that one side was needing to just come across a little bit. It's interesting how you notice some things when you step back from your work, and it's helpful if you do look at a photo of your work or are able to hold it distance from you just to check things a bit more. So I'm just going to bring this out a bit more. Hopefully that will just make it a bit more symmetrical. And hold it away from me, and I'm pretty happy with that now. And you will notice that my cup of tea has a little addition or two in it. So I've added some boiling water and an English breakfast tea bag. I thought because I've got so much of the mug open here because of the angle I was looking at it last time, I thought it'd be nice to actually put some tea in there, to have the tea bag there as well, as I take a sip of my own cup of tea next to me, which is not English breakfast. I can't drink English breakfast at the moment because of the diet I'm on, but I do enjoy it. So I'm just going to notice that maybe I need to just curve that around a little bit more and out a bit more there. So if you did the drawing last time, feel free to grab an eraser and make a few adjustments. Sometimes it's helpful to look at artwork with fresh eyes after you've had a bit of time away from it. And it was good to see one or two drawings that my viewers have done and shown me. So thanks to those that did that, and any of of you others that would like to email me your drawings, I'd love to see what you come up with. Be interested to see what kind of mugs you choose to do for this part, for the more decorative part too. Okay, so around here, trying to match the basic outside shape and then bringing it back around a little bit like that. And if you can see any reflections in the actual liquid, you could just add some little marks there to remind you where you're going to be putting them in later with the fineliner. And then there's the tea bag itself in the water. You don't need to do either of these bits if you don't want to, but it adds a bit more interest. I'm just trying to work out the right size for the tea bag. Sort of was getting across here and then thought, oh, hang on, I'm running out of space. There's meant to be a decent gap there. So I think I'll stop it there. And then just move that a little bit back further. And there's that side part fold in the tea bag. Little triangle thing. And there's a bit of reflection of light around the edge of the tea bag where it's poking out of the water. And then I need to look to see where to position the thread. And when I'm doing that, I'm actually realizing I need to bring the whole tea bag up a bit higher. So I'm looking at the handle, so maybe I'll work out where the string is going to go, so it'll sort of come down like this, and then it goes out a bit more, down towards the mug, and around, so that's the string, and so I'm just trying to work out, okay, the distance in between the string and the edge of the tea. I think that will work. That there, and now I can work out where the tea bag needs to. There, cross, little dip, and then cross again. That. Tea's starting to get a little bit stronger, only freshly boiled. So it's getting a bit harder to see the bottom of the tea bag now. And a funny story about English breakfast tea, which is what we in Melbourne call it. So the Twinings English breakfast. I've got decaf there. Apologies to those that don't like decaf, but that's all I can handle. I can't even have that now. But when I was in the UK, so we got on the coach from London. All the students were heading up to the Bible College at Capernwray. It's in Lancashire. So we were on the coach and we stopped, I don't know, it was halfway up or something, to have a toilet stop and get something to eat. And I wanted a cup of tea. And so I went over to the kiosk thing and said, can I have an English breakfast, please? I said an English breakfast tea. And they started to serve up eggs and bacon and stuff and sausages. And I said, no, I meant a cup of tea. And it's like, I don't know what you call it over here. We just call it English breakfast. And I don't know, they call it classic tea or something over there. But anyway, eventually I got my cup of tea. It would have been nice actually to have the eggs and bacon, but it would have been more expensive and I wasn't quite in the mood for it at the time. Another interesting thing over there was the when I wanted a Devonshire tea. So when those of us in Australia want scones with jam and cream and a cup of tea, a pot of tea, we'll ask for a Devonshire tea. But I realised over there I had to ask a cream tea. So I'm not quite sure why we just decided over here to call it a Devonshire tea when you can get them all over the place. Although it might determine whether you put the cream on your scone first or whether the jam goes on, but I can't remember which is which. Alright, so I've got my label there. I can put on the little writing twinings if I want to. I stress too much about the writing on there, I don't think. So that could become quite meticulous and it could also be quite frustrating in the end. Okay, so now I don't think I had the strong shadow last time, so it's probably because I've got a little spot lamp next to me now. So I'm going to put in that nice long shadow that I do have. And then I'm ready to start the fineliner work. Okay, so I'm going to grab a 0.1 fineliner, which is my favourite one to use. And I think I did recently get a 0.051. Not sure where that is. Anyway, the finer the better for me. Okay, so I'm just going to figure out, just readjusting myself now in my chair. Another cup of tea, which is Tulsi with honey and chamomile. Just recently discovered Tulsi. I think it's the same thing as holy basil and some good healing or health qualities to it, and tastes really nice. And there was one that I bought recently that was a sleep time one with Tulsi in it, and it reminded me of bubblegum, which is pretty cool. I haven't tasted bubblegum since I was a kid, so that was quite fun. Alright, so I'm going to work out on where to begin, and to be honest, it doesn't really matter where you begin, so you can choose. But I'm thinking I might start with the darker bits in the actual tea first, before I tackle the mug. And that will help me to work out how light or dark I need to make the mug itself. And I think I will just start with, actually I'll just check, I'll grab a different pen. That one looks a little bit low. The nib has been pushed in a bit somehow. That looks a bit better. Let's try that. Okay, and I'm using the Unipin fine line, water and fade proof with pigment ink, so it shouldn't fade too much. So we'll just start to add in some light. Need to get the pen going a bit over there. Some light, scratchy, sketchy lines first. Don't want to go too dark too soon. So remember, if you've watched previous videos, the faster you go with the pen, the lighter it will look. So the further apart your lines are. But if you want your lines close together, then just go nice and quick. I was really tempted to change the medium to do a watercolour painting because of the lovely red strawberries on this mug. But because I'd already committed to doing it in pen, I will follow through with that. there's nothing stopping me from doing another one in watercolour. Do intend to do some watercolour lessons on the track on YouTube. And while you're watching this and listening, you might like to choose some refreshing music, something Baroque perhaps. You'd expect to find in an English tea room playing in the background. A spot of Mozart, even though he wasn't English. Pop on a bit of Vaughan Williams, although he was Welsh. I'm sure the English will be happy to let him play in the background in their tea room as well. Okay, so just keep going over the lines a bit. Even this pen's a little bit dry, which is good to keep some of the drier pens lying around, although you might want to have a tin for dry pens, because sometimes if you do want just very light tones, they can be useful. I'd like something that's, there we go, just like those darker lines a bit more quickly. Yeah, so the drier ones can be useful when you're just wanting very light. Just put in. I'm not worrying too much about the edge of the tea bag yet, but I do want to be careful not to pour over the string the tea bag is. Quite a bit darker around the edge of the tea bag as the tea itself sort of infuses in the water, or whatever the correct term is. And the tone does get lighter towards the top, the tea. Now you could choose to do this drawing more as a quick sketch. You're not being as meticulous as I am. If you want to just go slow and more of the fine details, then go for it. And that's where you really would want to have a cup of tea next to you and some nice music on in the background, or even just listen to a podcast or something. But oops, there goes the local, I don't know, ride-on mower down the street or something. Yes, probably don't put on a podcast while I'm talking. That might be a bit distracting. Chances are the person on the podcast will have a much louder voice than I will. And notice that there's a rhythm to my lines. They're going in pretty much the same direction. Some of them are a bit curvy. not putting them all over the place, but you could do cross-hatching as well if you want to. But when you're rendering shiny surfaces or smooth surfaces, things like glass, tend to do lines rather than sort of a cross-hatching technique, which could be good for fabric and things like that. So, because we're doing water, I kind of think just having them in the same direction works better. But I could be wrong. I'm going to go darker again near the edge of the tea bag. Okay, and go to the other side of the string. And now I've got to work on those kind of tricky reflections. I might just dark a bit here. Get my computer screen back up, a bit more light. And yeah, so don't stress too much with the reflections if you miss a little bit. No one else is going to look at your drawing and go, oh no, you missed a reflection. Unless they've got a photo of it in front of them. I have to confess that I don't remember drawing a teacup or I'll call it a tea mug or whatever with fineliner before. I'm not at this level of detail, so this is actually a first for me, so I'm interested to see how different parts turn out. It's always good to push yourself to try some new things. And since I've been in my online art classes and learning how to edit videos for YouTube and doing a whole bunch of different things with my new business this year, I realized this recently. I thought I actually feel more courage to try new things. I've been dabbling in things that I don't normally do, pushing myself by God's grace to launch into unfamiliar territory. And yeah, I've just noticed 6 months progress. It's like, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind trying that. Even watching some of the chateau restoration shows, and they're fixing a wall, doing plastering and things like that. Sometimes I find myself looking at that and going, oh yeah, I think I could give that a go. Not that I plan to move to France currently, although that would be nice with the warm weather they're having. But it's interesting how just pushing yourself to start something new can then give you the courage to try other things as well that not even be related. Alright, I might neaten up the edge of the tea bag now. Move across a little bit. Get rid of those little fuzzy bits. I don't need it to be too sharp on the edges though. And I might actually use dots. That's going to take a while. Hopefully there's not too much of it. Seems appropriate to use some dots in the tea bag. You could also do some diagonal lines for shading to add a bit of consistency. Hoping the magpie might provide some background music then, but piped out. Now something I am forgetting is to just use an extra bit of paper to rest my hand on so that I'm not smudging all the grey lead underneath. That's better. So nearly done with those dots. Just adds a bit more interesting texture. Now for the other bit, I might just some diagonal lines, but this time I'll change direction. Go lightly to start with. Shading at the bottom where it, the tone gets a bit darker. And the dots actually move up that way a bit. And I think I just went a little bit close then to the edge. I want white, but I might be able to move that whole area down just slightly. So sometimes you do just have to do a bit of tweaking to fix things when you go over where you don't want to go. We can't very well just draw a bush on there like you could if you're doing a landscape. Do some scratching on this one. And that'll also help to distinguish it from the tea itself. Really good. A shadow in there. I think that's starting to look a bit more like the side of a tea bag. I do miss having chai lattes. Because of my low histamine diet, I'm not meant to have cinnamon and pepper might be something else in chai I can't have. But hopefully the sinuses will fully clear up soon, and then I can bring back some of those lovely treats again. Just extend that part so that the whole thing will come down a bit lower to make up for my little error earlier. Bring that bit down as well a bit more. And I think that should work okay. And now I'll just continue on with the tea that's up around this. It's a bit darker just down at the bottom of that bit. And a little bit of light shading up here. And I need to look around the edge of the tea bag where the water ends, or the tea ends. There's a bit of a reflection of light as well. Do some diagonals there. And a bit more shading up here. And we've got to remember to keep looking at objects that we're drawing in case we notice something else that we missed earlier. And there are some little patches of tea leaves that have stuck at the top of the tea bag. Those in. I've noticed that there's been a number of lovely art prints or pictures of teacups and lovely frames lately in various shops that I've been in. So if you're happy with how yours turns out, you could get a nice decorative frame and put it up in your kitchen or somewhere. Alright, so I'll just add a bit more shading now, darker part tea bag. I need to get some shading over that bit to show that it's sunken down into the water and also over the top of it. But it's brighter out here where it's sticking out of the water. So there's my bag in there. Oh, now I do need to shade it in so that it's darker towards the bottom of that area. Okay, that'll do for now. I can have another look at that section towards the end. So you can see there is the tea itself. I think the next area that I'll work on is the sides, insides of the mug towards the top. I might just do some light, slightly curved lines. Don't want to go all the way up if I can avoid it. It's a little bit lighter in that section. I will kind of change the angle, the direction of my lines as I go across a bit. I'm noticing that there is a bit of reflection as well. I want to keep an area whiter. I just do some more little lines around here. I like how that's looking. Some more in up the top, but I'll leave that little strip of white down below. And it is a bit darker, this top section. So notice that in this spot here, that the lines are pretty much straight up and down. Whereas over here they follow the curve around this way. When I get to this side, I will curve the lines that way, and that will help to create that, the form of the mug. Help to give it more shape. Yesterday apparently was the shortest day in Melbourne, and I think it was the start of summer over in the Northern Hemisphere. Anyway, I think a number of us down here in Melbourne that are quite glad that days are going to, bit by bit, that bit longer and brighter and hopefully warmer. Too long. It's always nice to get over that halfway point. Let's get lighter here. So remember that there was that dark shadow down here, and my spotlight is sort of over this side. So it is going to be lighter in this section here. So I might just concentrate a bit more on this bit first. Right, and then I'll think about how much to add on the lighter side. I don't want to go too dark around here. Always the danger. But it also doesn't hurt to slightly exaggerate things a bit too. Otherwise things sometimes can look just a little bit too insipid. Like a cup of tea that has been made in warm water instead of freshly boiled water. As sometimes children will present to you, make you a cup of tea, but we're always thankful for their kind thought. And then zip to the microwave when they're not looking. Okay, so a little bit darker again down here, trying to preserve that reflection of light a bit higher up, changing the direction of the curves as we go around. Some of it also is some of the pattern on the outside of the strawberries showing through in places where the light's shining through. It's quite a fine porcelain. Let's have that translucent quality. Let's get a bit darker around this here. And then I'll just add a bit more here so it's not a sudden jump from one tone to the next. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that for the moment. And I might add a bit of shading onto the string. Maybe I'll put a bit of a line there on the very edge. And then when it moves up into the lighter area, to add more shading. Just a little bit more down there. Okay, and then below that, do some shading in the opposite direction to the other side. I'll leave the rest of that area now. Back a bit later if I want to add details in there. Okay, so see how the form of the top of the mug is now starting to take place. And I might get out the eraser and just fine tune some of those bits towards the top now. I won't get rid of it completely yet. Need to bring those lines at the front down just a little bit lower because I too too far before. I'm just going to try and make a neater edge for me to follow with the pen. Actually, I need to push that bit slightly, I think. I think that's better, and then I can bring some of that up as well. Down below, the gold rim. And just a little bit further. I'll just have a look at a distance quickly. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, so now I'm going to work on the rim. And I think I'll just do some sketchy lines at the edge. Just try not to be too rough. It does help to have a steady hand. My hands aren't always that steady though. Although they're probably more steady than when I used to have a lot of Ventolin in the nebulizer when I had bad asthma. And my hands would be quite shaky. But I think since my diet has dramatically improved, cutting out the sugar, and I don't know if gluten impacts things like that as well, but cutting out the gluten as well, being very healthy. Asthma really hasn't been much of a problem lately. Okay, so I've done, I need to bring it down here. A little bit of thickness there to play around with. I need to. So I can come back and touch those just up a bit more soon. They will look a little bit wider down towards the bottom here. I can just bring that gold bit up a bit higher. Bring in those double lines around the front section. Don't have to worry so much about them at perspective. Just make that bit a little bit wider. Right, I think I'm pretty happy with that. I might just add in another line there. Okay, so there's the top done, and I'm going to work on the bit down below and come back to the edges and things. Okay, I might try doing a strawberry. Now the strawberries, and this is an extra challenge that I didn't quite think about before choosing this mug. Seems to have brought a lot of challenges for me, but it does have those little dimply things, dimples, but little pips, little seed things outside. So I'm just having a think about the best way for me to add those in. So I might start doing some shading, and then just do little bits of shading but leave some little specks in there. See how that goes. Could also grab a bit of spare paper and just experiment first, see what works, or you could just leave them out completely. I don't think I'll be able to put in quite as many as on the mug itself. That's working. I think that's looking strawberry-like. Would be a challenge also if you were doing this with watercolor, although you could get away with just adding in little dots of masking fluid first. After they've been painted over, you can just rub them off. Don't have that luxury here. I guess I could always try putting little blobs of masking fluid on, draw over the top and see what happens. Alright, so there's my first strawberry, and now I need to add in some leaves. The leaves are lighter, but there's a bit of shadow underneath. There is some shading on there as well, which I'll add in. Give it a bit more form, which I might make it a little bit fatter on that side. I think the sun has finally decided to show up outside, so that's nice. Okay, so there's my first strawberry. Do a bit more work on the stem, might do some tiny little lines there for shading around the edges. leaf. I will do shading on the white parts of the mug itself later. It's probably best to do the details first. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with how that's looking so far. And if I'm taking too long, I might decide to speed up some parts of the video for you, but we'll see how we go. I kind of like the fact that you can hear bits of helpful information, hopefully helpful along the way with different parts. Doing it in real time. It's the beauty of watching on video is that you can pause it, stop it, come back later and do more work on it. Can't really see any of those pips. I might just add in one or two bit. Darker at the bottom. And a bit darker around there. A little bit of light underneath the lip of the mug. And then we have a leaf. Heavy line. Let's do some diagonals first and then I'll put in little veins or ripples. Leaf. Going to curve around a bit this way now. Hopefully you can't hear the mournful dog in the distance. But often during the day he'll suddenly just start whining and mourning and making that dreadful noise. I think he's just pining for his owners to come home and entertain him. And his owners, they probably have no idea that he's making that dreadful noise all day. He's probably not about to tell them. So I'm just shading in very lightly of the mug there. A little line there as well. Yeah, now back to the stem. Some more spiky things. I did hear what they're called, but I can't remember. garden. I've got one called a silver chime jonquil, a white one that's starting to flower. Nice when the other ones join it. It's nice to have those early jonquils making you think, oh, spring's just around the corner, even though we've still got a couple more months of winter. I think my dad's yellow jonquils have been in flower for a few weeks now at least. Over in the other side of town, near the Dandenong Ranges, where everything seems to grow very well. A lot of rainfall over there, generally. Okay, so we'll have to add in more little pips here. Challenge is to avoid getting those extra dark lines. Okay, that needs to be a bit darker anyway. So try and press a bit lighter. Nearly done with this one. Add the shading onto it. I'm quite happy with those little pips or seeds. Now I'll fix up shading. Do some cross hatching on the other one up there, so I'll do that here as well. Down a bit to get rid of that dark spot. And just bring that down a bit more. Alright, another strawberry done. Right, I'm going to continue the string down. Just doing little tiny lines rather than a solid line. Helps to create that thread-like look. And you might be able to hear the grandfather clock in the distance, which is a few hours out, so I need to figure out how to get the chime synced with the actual time. Okay, and now she'll tackle the handle. Great delicacy. If that was the right word, but anyway. There's a darker shadow on the edge at the bottom. Continues up. Yeah. And careful not to go over string, the tea bag. There's a little bit that juts out at the side there. That extra little detail. It's the mug a bit more special. Light shading on the top. And some stronger shading around where there's shadow from the mug itself. Back onto the handle. Putting my lines around to add a bit of form there. Bit of a darker edge. I'm going to let that dry for a little bit, the ink, before I rub out the bit of pencil there so that I can neaten up the edge in that section. I might leave the handle. Just don't want to risk a slight smudge with the pen. And now I shall look at the bottom. I need to leave a bit of a gap between the strawberry and where the gold rim is, so I'll actually bring the whole thing down just a bit lower than what it looks like it should be. Try to keep as uniform as I can. It will get a bit darker as it moves towards the edge and a bit thinner as well. Finishes around the corner. And then I'll keep it going around the front. A little bit dark there, just bring that across a bit. And not to go too high. There's not as much of one on the other side, a bit thinner. Again, I'll neaten that up, move things around a little bit once I've rubbed that out. And now I'll get on to the bag, so I'll just maybe use diagonal strokes. It's a bit darker than the string. Sounds like the ride on mower's back. And off they go. A shadow there. Now I'll continue those diagonals down. I'm going to stress about writing English breakfast on there. Bit of fluffy leftover string where the knot has been tied. Just change the direction of my line for the Twinings label thing there. And there's another bit all the way down. Pretend it's got writing on it. But I might have a go. We'll see how this goes. See if I can write Twinings. There we are. I think I managed to pull it off. And I'll just pretend that there's some writing in the middle. A bit of squiggly lines. Okay. And underneath that will be a bit of dark shadow. Dark actually. With some lines in the opposite direction as well. Continue it along the side, down the bottom. All right, now I'm going to I still want those lines there, so to put in the shadow and then fix up the rest. Start off lightly. And I won't go too far out, because if I put it in a frame, I kind of want a little bit of white around the edge. And the shadow goes up to here. Okay, and there is a little bit of faint shadow over this side as well. Just sort of overlap a bit. Okay, I'll come back and fix the shadow in a moment, but I would like to just now get rid of the grey lid. Pretty much just do it over the whole picture now. And then I can look and see where I've got gaps where I need to actually add in any lines or shading, where I need to touch things up. You could, if you wanted to, just leave the grey lid there, if you like that. I'll get rid of mine. And it's always good to find a decent eraser. This one by Faber-Castell, this blue one, is I found it quite good. I did buy a couple of black ones. They seem to have good reviews or something, but then it actually left some black marks on my work, which I wasn't very happy about. So I stopped using them. Alright, now for the big shakedown. The old wobble board sound. And almost need a feather duster or something. I'll just lightly a clean tissue across it to get rid of the dust. Okay, and now I can have another good look at it to see where I need to maybe add in some extra details. The bottom is looking a bit wobbly now, so I do need to touch up the bottom edge. I might actually do some lines. I'll change pens. The direction of my lines just to help me get those curves happening a bit better. This is the shadow at the bottom. I'm going to bring that around a bit. think there's part of the tea bag that's reflecting in the shiny side of the mug there. So I'll just make that bit a bit darker. A little bit darker towards the top where the rim is. And add in shading at the bottom. Trying to match the direction of the lines to add a bit more rhythm. And I'll just touch up this bit for a bit. And then look at the other side as well. And I did want to go back to the handle, touch that up as well. And we'll look at the top. And then just look to see if there's any bits where we need to go a bit darker. We are so close to finishing. I've actually made that shadow down there too dark, I think, compared to the mug. But we'll just have to make it work for us. Okay, and look at the edge of the T. We just need to make it a little bit more contrasty there. Look at the string, see if we need to set up a bit. Make it stand out a bit more at the top. Check the shading under here. And we can go a bit darker around this bit as well. And I'll just make this a bit more crisp. on this side. And am I done? I'd just like to bring out a few of the details of the flower, just a little bit more, so that it doesn't get lost. I have actually painted the edge lines on the edge of the petals, so I will pop those in. Make this one a bit darker. The edge of that one. Okay, and now I just need to off that little bit of string there. And add a shadow of the string, which comes up to here. Oops, a little bit dark there. I'll just bring that right down like that. And alright, stop there before I draw it. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed taking the time to do a more refined drawing with me, and well done for hanging in there for the long haul if you have. And I would love to see what you have drawn, so feel free to send it to my email address, which is on my website at www.robertkingdomart.com. And if you like the video, please remember to click the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I look forward to catching you in my next video. All the best.